I just, as a, I guess, public piece of information, the Ghost Town at Sundown was one of the best Wendell events I've attended in a long time. It was fabulous.
Yes,
I
will
would
agree.
support that as a select board member happening again.
Absolutely. I am in agreement.
Yeah. Very well organized, lots of fun, and the weather was perfect.
Organizers did a great job with the weather.
Yeah.
Okay, and we might want to look closer at the warrant schedule. I think one of them is right before Thanksgiving.
That's right. And actually, I'm just remembering, I actually have a copy of the calendar here.
So next week we would sign the warrant. And then 2 weeks from that, it's the night before, or it's the night before Thanksgiving that we would need to sign the warrant. I will not be in town that day. You will be, Dan?
I will be, yeah.
I expect to be too. So I could make a
Okay.
commitment to make sure that I get it signed. Even if we're going away, I don't think we'll go until the next day.
Okay.
We'll have to see. I don't know if they'll adjust the schedule at all, because I don't know. I mean, I guess the checks would normally go out after you all sign and all. But it sounds like we got a quorum who can sign it if it is on that schedule.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like Carolyn has everything ready to go. And then she just presses a button or something.
Okay.
That's just my impression. I don't know. But yes, I imagine there are times when it needs to be adjusted for holidays, but I don't know if I've experienced that yet.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
then I think starting in December, you'll be synced up again with the warrant schedule, because we've got 5 Wednesdays in November.
Okay, good. That would be good. All right, so we are to our reports section, and Phil has joined us, although I'm not sure if he has fully joined us. Oh, I think you are now. Are you there, Phil?
I'm here.
Okay, we've just made it to your part for the project coordinator update.
Oh, really? Did you start early?
No, we just got through everything really quickly.
I guess
Moving
so. I
fast.
was just on the phone with Annie, and she's all telling me about their plans to have a parade this Saturday, and everyone's all excited about the road being open. So,
Is it
Oh,
open
wow.
already?
well, it's going to be open. They're saying it's going to be open by Friday afternoon. And
Great.
Wow.
so they're paving tomorrow. I'm having a meeting with the contractor and the engineer and the other road commissioners on Friday, late morning. Do a little punch list kind of a conversation. But it's happening. So it's I sent you folks a letter just actually this afternoon that I'd gotten from Davenport about the final push to get the paving done, and also that there's some extra additional costs that are, I don't know who's heard what, but we've got an invoice basically that talks about $51,000 in cost overruns. So it's reality that happens in contracts, but it's all line item stuff. And I guess the bottom line is that the engineer's estimate was not.
Sorry to interrupt, just for our note taker's sake. I think this is on our agenda for later, so maybe we can keep with that part.
So what was I on for this early? I'm sorry.
For just you're on for your report as the project coordinator, but since we do have the agenda for later, maybe we can hear about the other things that are going on.
Well, you just keep me in line there, Glenn. So the report is the road is getting opened and folks are very happy about that. The project looks really good. The Kentfield project is also, the bridge is ready for delivery. There's some issue with some special metal attachment pieces that aren't ready yet, but they should be very quickly. So we're hopeful that's going to be installed by November as well. So everything's coming together on those bigger projects. We met today with FERCog and the road commission and Al from the road crew. We're looking at that intersection at Lock Hill Road. There was some conversation about it a few months ago, and we're looking at a change there that would involve eliminating that the way those two roads is meld together and people are driving through from both directions at speed greater than is safe. So we're looking at creating a T. So Lock Hill Road will actually come to a T intersecting perpendicular with Lock Village. So that will cause people to have to stop. And there'll be hopefully a safer arrangement there. That's something that's probably going to take place during the next year.
Great.
Yeah, I think everything else is just going along as we've spoken recently. We're still waiting for the heating, the mini splits at the police station, but it's not getting a lot of action over there. So I don't know anybody's being held up for anything. Are there any questions that I could help or answer?
That sounds great, Phil. Thanks.
Well, sure.
Jillian?
Phil, do you want me to send out a Wendell alert about the road being open? When, like, you could send me a message when you're ready for that message to go out.
Okay. I will see about confirming that tomorrow and get something to you so it could go out and at least there's a day's notice. The Diamonds are planning a parade actually, like mid-morning on Saturday,
Mhm.
sort of a celebration.
Cool.
So folks might want to be around for that.
Does
But I will-
anyone have a problem with me putting that in the notice?
No,
No, that sounds good.
Okay, so I'll
And
get you
I will be
something
out of town starting Friday, Saturday, back on Sunday. But I can do it from wherever I am.
Well, I am as well Saturday, but they're just excited and happy to be opening. So
Yep.
things are going forward.
Awesome.
I'll send you a notice, Gillian, so you can
Thank you,
have
Phil.
something in writing.
I'll be out of town this weekend too.
Oh,
Busy day.
So I'm gonna be up with Dan.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground.
I've got grandbaby care to do.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Leahy. Okay, thank you, Phil, and we'll talk to you again later for a few things.
Okay.
But now we'll move to Glenn and the town coordinator report.
Okay, I took our insurance and I guess employee assistance program offered a webinar today on conflict, which was really helpful. They will be sending me the recording and everything, and I'll post it onto the coordinators page with the links. But I'd say my main takeaways were that having a code of conduct like we just approved is great, and also it's really a best practice to kind of keep it in the conversation. So finding ways to post it and remind people about it, have ongoing conversations about conflict. For example, where do you draw the line between listening and engaging with somebody who's angry versus when they flip it into being abusive and it needs to be interrupted? So those are just conversations they encourage people just to kind of keep having. The one tip that seems to keep recurring about dealing with a difficult situation in the moment is if people are angry, kind of realizing that that they're not available for thinking logically. So trying to pursue a logical like explanation is not necessarily going to help. It helps more if people can be encouraged to take a break and continue the conversation later when people are less angry. So that's kind of the recommended intervention that I kept hearing about. I did order a flag for us, and I wrote to Dan asking for help with the telescoping flagpole, but also the flag to me doesn't look great, but actually it is similar. I guess we have ordered ones from this company before because Joy actually found one in a drawer that we had, but it was actually too large for our flagpole, I guess. And it's about the same quality, but it's just, I think with the ornateness, our beautiful, wonderful flag that captures Wendell so well, I think it also is kind of difficult on a limited budget to get something that like really sings out, but maybe it will look better once it's up on the pole. But I've put both flags in the select board office for you to take a look at, and let me know if it looks good enough to fly. And also if you have any ideas about where to put the larger one, because it'd be better to have it somewhere than hanging it, than being folded in a drawer. So
Town hall, maybe?
Yeah, town hall. I thought
oh,
it might
that's
be
a
a good idea.
Yeah, okay. I was reached out to by the Hampshire Power Group. They were formerly part of the Hampshire Regional Council of Governments, and they essentially were offering to help us figure out how to access credits for national grid electricity bills in the town. So I did give him copies of our electric bills to kind of see what he can do with us, come up with a proposal. But in doing that, also realized that one of our electric bills was not on our chosen supplier. So switched that. So and that's better, but we're gonna already save money. So we've already saved some money from going through this process. But essentially what he'll do is kind of put together a proposal or something that I'll bring back to you to approve. And I don't fully understand all the ins and outs of it. Maybe Lori can help me figure it out what it's all about. But it seems like the state has credits that we can access, but we have to do something to access them to get discounts on our electricity. So yeah. I don't know, any thoughts?
Hopefully they can explain it when they come back to us.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar, but I will look at whatever you have. And
yeah, I mean,
we already do get a lot of credits based on the contract we did, or Dan and others did many, many years ago. So we'll see how much more there is that can be done. And what you're talking about.
Yeah. Cool. Also in your folder is a letter from the Zero Gate Lane folks. And it seems like essentially they're not, I guess before it was that complicated process they'd have to go to sell to a private owner, but instead they're giving it for conservation. So it seems like there aren't any further steps for us on that, but if you think there are and you want it on a future agenda, certainly let me know. And then, yeah. And then finally, I thought maybe since we just had our town meeting, it might be a good time to just take a brief look at the production procedure that I shared with you. So basically with all the things, including these meetings and the production of the minutes and just the processes that the select board office does often, trying to create operating procedures for those. So there's documentation of everything. And it does help, especially if I look at them. So, and every time something a little bit more gets added, for example, at the last town meeting, it was pretty dark when people were going in. So putting on the list to turn the lights on, all the lights on the common and stuff before we go in. So yeah.
I actually had to go, I turned off the lights the following morning because they were still on.
Oh,
It
that'd be.
sounded like the timer was on, but
Oh,
not working or something, because there's a timer you can set, right? And you
Right.
could hear it like click, 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 clicking, but
And we only set it for a few hours that night.
yeah, and it was
3
still
or
on the
4.
next morning. So I just swung around, stopped and turned it off, but
Probably needs a new timer.
okay, I'll add that to my list, but also, well, yeah, and I guess if they are on timers, we don't have to be concerned about that.
right.
And
But Glenn, I did think your idea of putting together a list of production items is really good.
Yep.
It's a good start. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's great. And
So-
can you send, I was just gonna say, can you send it in a Word doc? So we can add, do
oh, sure.
edits and such.
Yep, okay.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, because one thing I thought about was microphones, speakers, to just have that discussion.
Mhm.
Yeah,
If
and
they're needed.
also about, we also talked about having the discussion about whether it's gonna be hybrid or all in person, so
Mhm.
add that. Right, COVID protocols. Okay. Great, well, I will, I'll put that in a document and would you all, I don't know what, let me know your comfort level with things like shared documents, because now with our new OneDrive capacity, we could put that into a folder where you would have editing access and you could edit it online and there wouldn't be all the version control issues of sending things back and forth, but let me
I
know.
think
if
I'm fine
that's,
with it.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
I don't know,
okay.
Lori and Dan.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
okay, great. And that's all I got for you.
All right.
thanks, Glenn.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, so we have a consent agenda, and I already know I'd like to remove the Good Neighbors van request from the consent agenda. So hopefully that's all I need to say, and that will be removed.
Yep.
And then we can instead, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda that includes approval of the October 19th meeting minutes and approval of the Green Community's annual report.
I'll second.
And is there any other discussion on that?
Yeah, I would just like to say that the minutes from that meeting were absolutely excellent. Some of the best minutes I've ever seen, Cynthia. And
I will agree.
I don't think there's any set of minutes that I've ever seen on the select board that was any better, more accurate, more complete.
Well,
So,
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that they were great. Keep it up.
Yeah,
It does really help to bring the meeting back. Like,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Yeah,
And
it's
what a
very, very
difference
good.
it's making in my life to be able to focus on other things. Really
Good.
appreciate it.
Excellent. Then the job you created is doing what you intended. I like that.
Yes,
Me
absolutely.
too.
thank you.
Okay, anything else? And all in favor? Aye,
Hi.
great, thank you. So I think we could probably talk about the Good Neighbors van request next. Basically, I've already talked with Phil a little bit about this. Good Neighbors has a new van with the refrigeration component. And they have determined that it needs to be protected from snow and ice. And they don't have a place to keep it. And they were asking if there was any, well, they were specifically asking for a space at the highway garage where they could put up their own temporary garage. But in talking with Phil, that might not be the best solution. So we've talked about maybe other options, including rats and the police station. So I don't know if any other board members have thoughts about this, or if Phil wants to weigh in.
I don't mind weighing in. We met last night, the road commission, and discussed it further. When you originally asked about this, Lori, I was, they talked, the request specifically was for the side of the building. And that area is very congested. It's the fuel tanks are there. There's several storage containers that the guys have to get into with some regularity. That's the whole upper area where they take plows off the trucks and, take the sanders off. So there's a lot of activity. So that would be problematic there. However, if you go straight into the highway department, right to the very end, there's a row of where they keep the plows now. There could possibly be something done there because the land continues. One estimate was another 100 feet after the pavement stops. So, and it's really undeveloped land, it's open. So there is potentially some space there. That would be well out of the way. It wouldn't interfere with the highway functions like it would next to the building. The other idea that was thrown out was that I understand Kemsley Academy has some, and potentially, I haven't talked to them, but possibly heated space. And they're not doing much of anything over there recently, the last couple of years. And I understand that they did rent some space to a company at one point for keeping trucks in a garaged area. So someone may want to find out what that's about. I'm sure there'd be some costs involved, but there's going to be costs involved in building some kind of shed. And I also, it's not my business necessarily, but I would recommend if they're really going to put something up, it'd be a wood frame building that can actually be enclosed as opposed to one of those tarpaulin plastic. I think that's what they're talking about, temporary garages.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should withdraw the idea of the police station because I think I saw on your measurements that you sent me, Lori, that there's a 12-foot height issue. That garage door isn't that high. That's really just for a vehicle to get in. It's not that high.
Yeah, I agree that the police station should be taken off the list. It's just too crowded right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill, when you mentioned, was it an academy that had a heated garage?
Well, I'm not sure that it's heated, but Kemsley Academy, I understand, I was told by someone that they have rented space out to other people in the past to store vehicles. We could certainly, somebody could pursue that and get a simple answer, but.
And is it Kensley, Kensley?
Kensley. It's the one right at the corner of Farley Road and Wendell Depot Road, the big school.
I always thought it was Kelmsley.
It
Yeah.
is.
Is it Helmsley?
Kelm.
Well, see, what do I know?
Yeah.
I don't know where Kemsley is. It might be some military academy or something somewhere, but okay, Kemsley.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, all those sound good. So, and what about, do you still want to keep rats, or do you think it would be better to do that space at the, if they don't want, if they'd prefer a temporary structure over renting?
Rats is also an
space.
option. It's in particular for a temporary structure that could be moved because we are obliged to follow through with our plans for recapping over there.
Right.
So whatever's up on top there is going to get shifted around and moved next year probably. But there's room. We moved a couple of there's a couple storage boxes over on the back side. I don't know if you remember, if you know how to get around to where the recycling is, where the free store is, kind of behind that area. There's a little bit of room over there that so it would be out of the way and out of the flow of traffic.
Okay. Does anybody have thoughts on if they like this idea? Like if this is something the town feels is something we want to do, offer? I mean, I would definitely will get back to them and mention Helmsley. But yeah, I think that we should get some consensus on if we want to offer up town space, if people agree on that.
I'm sorry, could you recap what it is they're looking for? I know you explained it a little bit, but all I got was they want to store their vehicle in a heated space.
It doesn't have to be heated. From what I understand, they just don't want snow or ice to get on it. So they just want it to be covered. And they are willing to put up a temporary or some kind of garage so they just really want an open space that's big enough for their garage and it able for them to pull their van into.
And this group is, I'm sorry, I don't
just
know who
posted
they
it
are.
in-
Good
into
neighbors.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
posted it into the chat for you, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, Len. Okay,
You're
sorry.
welcome. Nope, no problem. Glad you asked. Definitely feel free to ask questions.
Okay. Good Neighbors is the local food pantry. Okay, thank you.
Dan, did you have something or,
No,
oh. Does everybody agree this is okay to offer?
I do.
Okay. All right, so I'll give them all that information and I might be in touch, Phil, just to get a clear idea where in the highway property you're talking about, because I'm not sure I followed all that, but I'll get in touch.
Okay,
Get that
if
clear in my head.
yeah, if one of the folks that have something to do with the vehicle want to contact me as well, that's fine. So if you could be more specific about the size of the openings they need, that kind of thing.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I like that. Lori, I think you probably could pass it on,
Pass it off to
the
Phil.
options, and they could, right. One less thing on your plate.
Yeah,
It is a project after all.
exactly.
She wasn't saying pass it on to Phil. I think-
Right, not to Phil, back to Good Neighbors. Here's
Oh,
some
back-
options. Yeah, here's some options to Good Neighbors and.
No, we can pass it to Phil. No.
It is in the
Yeah,
town.
I will
I
do
can
that.
coordinate it.
All right, great. Let's see, so it's actually almost 7:30. So we might jump down to the wood bank because I see Cliff is here and he's scheduled for 7:30.
Yeah, okay, good. I think I was the one who requested this, and so Cliff, we just have some questions and some thoughts. Some are short-term and some are long-term. I think the short-term question is, when are we expecting to actually begin receiving wood? And do we have a plan for where that's going to go if it's actually happening soon, which seems maybe it is, because I've seen several trucks around starting to cut trees.
Yeah, so they're cutting trees that are for local or for residents right now. They're not cutting anything of the town. So I think all the residents have requested that the wood remain on their property.
Good.
And so I did the tree assessment a few days ago. There's like 90 trees I think that they're gonna end up removing. So it's just a field trip for you and I think at this point. I have some free time tomorrow if you're available to take a look at some potential sites.
I am available tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be happy
Beautiful.
to do that.
Let's do that then. And then I just got my grant off yesterday for the wood bank. I think it's $10,000 that I'm applying for right now to get some wood splitters and a chainsaw and either a trailer or yeah, I think a trailer is what I asked for this year. So that'd be nice to just have a little bit of more infrastructure, things to really utilize for the wood bank. So you just need to find a secure location at this point. Yeah.
Well, great. And I guess maybe everyone saw that Buckland had received a huge grant for their wood bank.
How big of a grant did they get?
117,000.
my
Wow.
Yeah.
How, through whom? I did not see
Okay.
that.
Well, I've got all the info on the
Yeah,
grant. and
for that
I
to me, that sounds great.
Maybe I'll just go over that with you
That sounds good.
tomorrow. They've been given the 117. Now they're applying for another one from a different state agency.
That's
add to
incredible.
that.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is money out there,
Yes,
definitely.
that could be. What are they even using that money for? I can't even. I mean, I guess you can buy a whole
Well,
truck
I
with
think
that.
maybe some of it's to clear a site,
Okay.
but then there's a lot of heavy duty wood processing equipment that they're getting.
Right.
Not your usual little splitter, but the bigger, more industrial type stuff.
Yeah, DCR has one that they kind of transport to different sites to utilize and to help specific towns when they like have specific days for helping to process the wood. But that'd be nice to have our own. That'd be incredible. That would be huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd be happy to
Huh.
work with you on that.
Sounds
And,
good.
I guess the only other thing I wanted to bring up, well, let's see, Athol and Montague also have wood banks that are up and
Yes.
functioning, so we can talk to them a little bit for see how their experience has been. But Phil did suggest as one possible site, when do we need to have a site available? When are they actually going to start processing big trees that we can use?
I'm thinking within probably 3 weeks or so.
So that's tight.
That's pretty tight.
And so what we really would like to have is a place that's clear right now.
Yes, absolutely.
And the only place that Phil and I came up with without going around was right behind the town office building. There is a spot there that's about the size of a soccer field. That's flat and clear. It's right beside the leach field, our large leach field, which is out behind the office building. So there's plenty of flat, cleared space there. Getting to it, though, is not so simple because of the new electronics hut that's back there now, sort of blocks the way in. And then the garden shed is sort of blocking the way in. And then the garden is sort of blocking the way into this soccer field sized space. And I looked at it today and it seemed to me that maybe we could get in through one of those spots, maybe through the garden somehow. But it seems like the ideal way would be coming in through Jeff Richardson's driveway, which is right at the rear of our property.
Right.
I haven't been able to talk to him yet to see if he'd be at all interested or willing to let us go in through there.
Right.
But that's the next step. But
And
I just,
that would supersede the need to go through the garden or through the shed or
Right.
Okay.
right. And so I just thought maybe for the purposes of tonight's meeting, it might be a good idea to just get some thoughts from you, Cliff, and the select board about the advisability of putting that wood there behind the town office building and actually having the noise and disturbance of a wood bank being right there. What do people think?
So this is not just to store it, it's to process it and everything.
Right.
Might think it's more important to know what Jeff Richardson thinks.
Yeah.
I might be fine with it if it works with all the other logistical,
Yeah.
concerns.
Dan, one thought, or Lori, is that we may want to I'll take a look at the zoning. It's something of a change of use and may require some permitting.
Okay.
And that's just a good step to go through before we get too committed to that. I agree, it's a great site. It's probably very loamy, so we may need some soil treatment so trucks can get in and out of there without getting bogged down. But
Right.
I'll take a look at the zoning and try and reach you tomorrow again.
Great.
And you'll probably have to clear a couple of trees or some trees to get
Uh,
through.
You could, if you cleared a couple of trees, you could make the space much bigger. And you would need, if you were to come in through Jeff Richardson's driveway, you would need to take out a stone wall, I think, and some
Wow.
trees.
All right.
And I'm willing to try to get in touch with Jeff, see if he's interested.
And maybe we can try to do that tomorrow. Take a look at the site and
Yep.
boogie down there and see if he's.
And while I have you, Cliff, what time is good and where should we meet?
Man. Tomorrow's Thursday. Let's do 10:30 at the town office.
Sounds great.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Gillian?
I do, just thinking about it, I do have a concern about our neighbors who live on right there,
Yep.
in terms of the, like, between the town offices and the meeting house and the noise that just to be aware of and cautious about.
It'd be good to check in with them, absolutely, before any final decision.
And we can also kind of schedule the work that we're doing on times when it's, convenient for everyone else, kind of thing, when it's not disturbing them. And,
Right.
we might only need 8 days of chainsaw. Wood splitter is pretty quiet as is. So I think that, yeah, I guess it depends on how much wood we get in and how quickly we can process it. But I think that if we had kind of all hands on deck for 8 work days of just bucking up wood, we could, it wouldn't be too disruptive to people as a whole and be able to kind of mitigate upsetting the neighbors.
Yep.
You can figure that out.
One other thought, Dan or Cliff, is that we've talked about the land that's that the Rats is on. And there are a number of acres that are wooded still. And we're also in the process of planning a roadway around the bottom side or the downhill side of the Rats property. So that could be incorporated into a wood bank. It's not going to be ready in 2 weeks, but one of the conversations Dan and I had, that we certainly wouldn't want to consider moving this wood twice. But if worst scenario came to just putting it someplace for this winter and then having a site that's more appropriate in the spring, it's more work, but it may be a solution that would be workable. And, there's 14 acres there. So I think probably 6 or 8 acres may be undeveloped behind the Rats.
Right.
And there's nothing in there. It just borders up on the backside of Morse Village Road, Morse Village Road, where there's only, I think, maybe one house out there somewhere.
Good.
And just to clarify. Actually, Dan Leahy, why don't you go ahead?
Hi, I just wanted to say that I remember that I think it was the pollinator group or somebody wanted to do plantings over that leach field area, and Jim Slavis didn't think it was a good idea because of the roots going down into the leach field there. It's probably worth a check with Jim to see if it's okay to have that kind of weight and activity over the leach field. Just
Right.
based
Well,
on.
actually, Dan, this is not over the leach field. It's next to it.
Oh, okay.
There's a big soccer field size area that's right next to the leach field and not on top of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay.
And I don't see an issue like if we do end up moving the wood bank in say a year or two, that we could kind of process the wood that we have on site and then move everything over to the new, more appropriate site. I think that could be feasible. I think that I just haven't had the infrastructure on hand, wood splitters and the things I need to be able to get the work done. So that's a big part of why I haven't been able to process the wood at or the original site, but also a lot of that wood was that older remaining wood that is just very big and chunky and very hard to work with. So I think I learned a really important lesson in terms of not taking on, the bottom of giant old gnarled maple trees and stuff, because it's just a nightmare. So I'm gonna be a little bit more, I guess, picky or choosy about what we received, so we can really utilize it. But yeah. So it wouldn't
Can I
be,
just,
please,
I'm
Sarah, go ahead.
before you go, Gillian, I just wanted to clarify that I do think that I would have strong reservations of going into that site past the broadband hut. I think really the only likely way is from behind.
Absolutely.
Okay. And my other thought, and I'm sure the other towns have figured this out, but we might just want to look into it in terms of liability for using this kind of equipment, if we need to alert our insurance or something like that, once we're doing this kind of work. I'm sure the other towns have dealt with it, so people know what to do, but we might just want to make sure we're on top of that.
Yeah, exactly. And Glenn, if you wouldn't mind, if you have a free moment at some time, contacting the Buckland town administrator and just having a quick conversation about how they pulled this off.
Sure.
Her name is Heather Butler, and the original grant was $113,000, and it was called the DCR Urban and Forestry Challenge Grant. So that's probably not available till next year again, but it'd be great to find out from her exactly what the time frame would be to apply. And they would probably be happy to send us their applications, being public documents. So if
I've
we,
been working with a woman from DCR also who might be able to attain that information for us too. Her specific work right now is kind of helping towns with the grant that I just applied for, and
okay,
so I can probably obtain some information from her. But it'd be wonderful, Glenn, if you could kind of do a little bit of your own digging and
I think it'd be
together.
good to contact Buckland and just have a little chat and ask
Yeah,
them to send their applications.
sure.
Have a lot to work with.
Thank you.
Gillian?
But I think it was Athol or Orange also had a lot of information when we were first talking about this. I'd done some research, and they have their application process procedure, liability forms you have to sign off on before you participate in volunteering at the wood bank, all of that.
Great.
And has the select board seen a copy of the grant? I know that I, for some reason, got off of the email list for a while, so I'm just checking. So Cliff, would you be so kind as to forward the grant that you put to the select board so that we're all in the know about what grants are going on out there?
Certainly.
Thanks.
Great. All right. Well, anything else for the wood bank for
Sorry.
now? Yes,
One more
Gillian.
thing. What I was gonna say before is we keep talking about moving the wood that is over on now private property. If we could make a plan to move those big, huge pieces somehow.
Well, actually, Phil was going to talk to Tom Chasen, who had at one point offered a rear part of his lot for the wood bank, apparently.
Let me clarify that, Dan. He didn't offer it for the wood bank. He offered it that the town highway crew could use it to place things they picked up on the road,
Oh,
biodegradable branches and things, and that we would move those logs off the front of his property as well, just to get that dealt with. But I tried reaching him this weekend, but I missed him so far. But that's still a possibility, get those logs moved. And he did say that he was open to some more conversation about what could be used out that back section of his land there. It's all under the power lines and not used right now.
yeah, we do want to make a priority of getting those logs off his property because they're in the way.
Or at least to a place he doesn't mind them being.
Exactly.
I have no specific use for them at this point. I mean,
Right.
I know I put half of them out there, but do we have the means to actually move them like equipment the town owns? Or
Yeah.
do we have to, okay,
In theory, the town could do it.
pain in the butt.
Yeah, but it's something that could be done as long as we're not needing to do it immediately. Highway could move them on their free time. So to
And
speak.
is it true that some of that wood is something that was auctioned off and purchased by a resident?
Yeah, but they decided not to get it.
Okay,
Some of those logs are very unwieldy. They're so big.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever had or seen anybody try to split a 30-inch log, but it's not a simple procedure. But
No. But Phil, the highway could move them to the back of the property at some point, I think, right?
yes, we've talked about that, and that would not be a difficulty. It's just more coordinating with Tom and getting
Right.
things moving. We'll
Okay.
make a point to get that done before winter comes in.
Great, thanks.
all right. Anything else related to wood or wood banks? All right, I think we can move on to the Mormon Hollow expense increases. Back to
Okay.
Phil.
Well, we had a surprise last week, and that was that they were having this overrun of costs that we hadn't heard anything about until actually Thursday. And the background is that the engineer draws plans and puts out a list of materials needed to do the job. But essentially that's for comparison between various bidders, so they're all bidding on the same thing. It's not unusual that their numbers are not spot on. No one expected anything like this, but I now have a proposal, a request for a change order from Davenport. And it specifies all the things that the extra cost resulted from. And there's actually a line of 8-9 different items that tallied up. The figure is $51,000 over, and it's 51,000. I want to say $51,053 over, the original contract, which is 623. So this is a hugely expensive project. It doesn't feel, now that we've got some paperwork on it and the engineers involved and we have an explanation, it doesn't feel like it's unreasonable. It would have been great if we'd had, a better accurate estimate on the original plans, but those plans are 3 years old, and I think we just have to decide that we're willing to appreciate there were additional costs. We're gonna have to cover them. Any questions on that?
Well, my only question is, why didn't we know about this sooner? I mean, ordinarily, I think in a construction project, the change order comes in before the money is spent.
I don't disagree, Dan, and that was sort of the disruptiveness of the way this came about last week, that and it's in the contract actually that change orders should be dealt with and produced and approved before additional costs are incurred.
Right.
So that's a contract issue that we could fight over. It doesn't change the quantities
Right.
or the project necessarily.
Yeah, I'm not interested in fighting over it at all. I just think it might be worth mentioning to Clayton.
We definitely should have and could have. And, another consideration would be when we did the bridge at Wendell Depot, we hired an engineer, a person to be on site and keep an eye on all this. So if we'd
Right.
had somebody on site, we'd have been forewarned of this at least. And Clayton should have forewarned us. I mean, he should have known that where he was going. But what happened was, as they started backfilling, they used the materials that came out of it as much as they could, and it just kept taking more and more to fill in that whole big hole that was there.
Yeah.
But yes, you're absolutely right, Dan. We should have had better warning, and this shouldn't have been a last minute, rush for money. So I think to do this properly, I should ask the board if they would take a vote to approve up to, let's say $52,000 of cost overruns on the Mormon Hollow project. Fortunately, we have funds that we can use for it. We would prefer to use other places, but that's the long and the short of it.
So Phil, are you asking that we make a motion to fund this through the highway department budget, or should we think about
No.
other sources like the stabilization fund?
Well, we still have funds that we're using to cover the original cost of the bridge. We have storm damage money, 204,000 that have gone into this. We have the Winter Recovery Act money, which is an eligible use for road reconstruction projects.
Okay.
If I needed to, we only applied to use $350,000 of Chapter 90, but that is required to have a pre-approval before we spend it. So we're out of time. I don't have the time to apply for Chapter 90 money for this. So I'm suggesting that we use some of the funds that we've accumulated through various sources. Those three I just mentioned in particular.
Okay.
It's basically ARPA sourced, but it's the Winter Recovery Act and the storm damage money.
Good.
All right. Gillian, did you have a question?
No, that Dan asked it.
Okay. All right, so let's make a motion. I'll move that we approve the cost overruns for the Mormon Hollow project of up to $52,000 and paid for through either the Winter Recovery Fund, or remind me what the other one was.
The storm damage funds.
Storm damage funds.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Is it one or the other, or is it possibly also a combination of both?
I think the way she made the motions, it's either or, and it can be up to the highway. Figure
Yeah, I
it
was
out.
just checking with Phil. Phil, does that work, or do you need to be able to access both sets?
Well, the reality is that these funds or these extra costs have been building up gradually for the last month, and we've been using storm damage money already. And the Winter Recovery Act money was for the end of the project, which we're getting to now. So it works for me that we're going to have either fund go into finishing this project.
But when you say, so it's going to be one or the other. I mean, I'm just saying because I know that that Aaron or someone is going to ask, like, for the copy of these minutes to say, was this, approved, or our auditors. So,
Well, we can say either or both.
Yeah, I think it's going to
Okay.
be both in reality. It's gonna
yeah,
be
I would
both.
amend it to both. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So Cynthia, can you just amend that to say both those funds? And any other discussion?
Yes, I'll do that. Thank you.
Great. All right, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
great.
Thanks,
Thank
folks.
you. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Phil.
Phil.
Nice job.
Yeah. All right, let's see what's next. I have misplaced my agenda.
Oldest citizen.
Mm.
Oldest citizen, okay. So we have a new oldest citizen. And there was some information in the email about what this means. We have a plaque, I think, and a cane.
Right.
And I have attended we did some kind of a ceremony or event. So I imagine that's something we would want to do again.
Yeah,
I did find a folder and it included a pin that New Salem gives the oldest citizens. So I think that'd be nice if I can order a pin, so we're not just bringing something and then taking it back. We could actually give them something to keep.
yeah, great idea.
Sure.
I like that idea.
So the one time I've done it, we just did it outdoors at their house. I don't know, but it was COVID and everything was outdoors. So I don't know how it was done before that, Dan, and if there's
We tried
some
to do
other.
it, on Old Home Day
Oh,
or at the annual town meeting, I think, one or the other.
I feel like we shouldn't wait that long.
But we shouldn't wait that long in this case. No, it's too far away. So maybe at their house.
Yeah, I can, I guess once I have a sense of when the pin might come in, then in the plaque, then I can reach out to them and ask where they would like to do it.
sure.
Whether it's for us to come to them, or if they'd like to come to the town offices or the Council on Aging, or whatever is comfortable for them.
There is, I don't know how quickly, there's the holiday fair.
Oh,
That
that's
might be
good.
an
Yeah,
option. If we can get things together. But yeah, you can just ask or what if they have a preference. We'll do whatever they want.
yeah.
Yeah, and Glenn, actually, next time you're in the town office, maybe you could check on the plaque, because I think I can't remember if we've gone onto the second plaque yet,
Check, yeah.
or if there are blank spaces on it.
Looked like Josh had a question.
Josh probably wants to know who it is.
Yes, who?
Doors.
Sure.
Door.
I'm forgetting her full name.
I'm
Never
gonna
heard
copy
it.
and post it so that we all have it accurate and it'll be accurate
Okay.
in the news.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just copied it. Do you want me to put it in the chat, Glenn? Or do you
I've
have?
got it. Yeah, just a sec.
Oh, first Dorothy. Okay. Did you get that, Josh? Everybody saw it?
Oh, it's in the chat. Can you able
Chat.
to access that? You click the chat button.
So,
I can email it to you too, Josh.
It's no first Dorothy or door. I've always heard of
Dor-
her as door.
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
I've always heard door.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Anything more on that? We can put that on another future agenda. Make sure we keep.
What if we do it for her birthday?
When's her birthday? Oh, right.
January
It's on
16th.
that.
January 16th.
That sounds good.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
But we can ask unless it shouldn't be a surprise, right?
I was just gonna say, good thing it's a surprise with a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we're all set with that. Next is the pipeline letter. And I'm trying to remember, was this from Laurel originally?
Oh, I got this from Dan, actually.
Oh, okay.
But it was like the day after our last meeting. Let me see if I can pull it up from you there.
Yeah, I think Laurel Facey sent us something. Maybe it wasn't the same.
Yeah, maybe Dan forwarded it.
I think I got it from her.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I tried to click through the links and had some problems finding the actual text that they were wanting us to sign on to. Where's this was a pipeline expansion. I can share my screen and we can take a look at this together.
Okay. Oh, actually, I found a website.
Oh, I see the screen care, some of my screen sharing was stopped, so maybe you were gonna share.
I wasn't gonna share. I can.
Well, I seem to have lost my power to share. I don't know what happened. But let's see, just reading it. Trying to pledge to enact a moratorium on new gas infrastructure in the Commonwealth. Trying to get the gubernatorial candidates to do so. I guess time would be of the essence on this since trying to do it with the candidates.
So I don't know if people can see what I'm
Yeah,
sharing.
you can see it.
So this is actually an online form where you can just fill it out. I don't know if this is how we would want to do it as the town, or if we'd want to send a letter.
I would think using their form would probably be what they would like.
Right, yeah. So I guess I'm okay with this. I am pretty much in agreement. Anybody else?
Yeah, so I'll move that we sign it.
I think I have to abstain.
I'll second it. Do you want to say anything about that, Gillian, or just?
I feel like I need to look at who this is coming from a little bit more, but I also feel like I have a conflict of interest. So I feel like it would be better for me to abstain.
Okay.
I don't mean to intend to stop. I'm okay with you moving ahead.
It's just so you know, it's Springfield Climate Justice Coalition. And their goal is to have 100 organizations in Springfield and across the Commonwealth do this. So
All right, any other discussion on it? All right, so all in favor of signing this, aye,
Aye.
and Gillian is abstaining. And is this something that Glenn can do, or should I do?
if you give me the link, I'll do it. Just want to make sure I can actually do it because when I tried clicking on it, I had difficulty. So
All right, I just clicked on the letter, but let me, I clicked on, yeah, where it says a call for immediate moratorium, but I'll just, oh, this is a Google form, and I know Google Forms are finicky
yeah,
if
I'm
you
having
don't have a
difficulty.
Google account,
Hmm.
or if you're not signed in or something.
So Lori, if you would be so kind as to fill it in with my contact info. It's just kind
Okay.
of opening on my computer.
Sure.
Oh wait, this time it's that linked in. That's funny. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
all
all set.
right. Cool. All right, thank you.
Sure.
All right. And does anybody want to reply to Laurel and tell her that we did it?
I can do that.
All right.
And do I list it as Town of Wendell or Town of Wendell Select Board?
Probably select board.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The energy committee might do it separately, I guess. I know Laurel sent us a separate email. All right, so if we think that's settled, we could go on to unanticipated topics, which I know we had a school committee appointment.
I'm sorry, Laurel who?
Facey, Facey.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, going to my list of. Yeah, do you want to do this, the school committee appointment first?
Sure. So the school committee had asked us to appoint Kate Woodward. I think that might be all we need to know. So I'll make a motion to appoint Kate Woodward to the school committee.
A second.
Any other discussion?
Just to say, I've already printed the form and the date ends when the spring election is, so that's the date that's on the appointment slip.
Okay,
So they were hoping that she could attend as a member at the meeting. Does her appointment slip need to be signed before
I think that's the hope, and the meeting's Thursday, so
tomorrow?
are there two of you who could go in tomorrow to sign?
I should be able to stop it. Is it on the table?
Yeah, in the box, the select board box.
I'll be there to meet Cliff, so I can do that.
Okay.
and I mean, I don't know if she'll be able to get sworn in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't make a plan for that, but I
Anna
think
might be able to do
on
that
the
with her.
select board, right? Hey, she's on the school, Anna's on the school committee as well as being. the
Oh, right.
So I would
okay.
say, once you have two signatures, put it in Anna's box. She can probably take it from there.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you both for doing that. And actually, I think we still need to vote. So all in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Was there more unanticipated?
Yeah, I think so. Let me pull it up. Hold on. Oops, if I pull up the right thing. Oh. Maybe not. I can't think of anything else.
Well, I do have one thing that just to bring to the board's attention, especially since we were just talking about the pipeline. And I just don't know how many people are aware of this, but the company that owns the high tension line, or one of them that goes through Wendell, and I think it's National Grid, but it might be Eversource. I always get them mixed up. But they are planning, does everybody know this? Maybe we've even talked about it before. They are planning to clear cut an additional 50 feet on each side of that power line, which is a gigantic amount of acreage. It's a 26-mile line going from Northfield to Ludlow or something like that. And 50 feet on each side is a lot of forest being taken down. And I believe that the motivation is because of what's happening in California, that a lot of trees are coming down on lines there and starting forest fires. But we have been in discussion with Joe Comerford about this, and she's already secured a 1-year extension on on the environmental impact report. So that's delaying it, but knowing the power companies, they're not going to stop there, and they're going to try to do this. And I think maybe the town should write a letter at some point soon opposing this clear cut because it's unnecessary. We did ask them to provide information about when the line has been hit by trees. And in my recollection, having lived right next to it for 50 years, is that it's never gone down. But we've asked for a detailed history, and we haven't received that yet, but Conifer's working on it and well aware of it. But maybe at some point the town should take a stand. So maybe I'll try to put together a letter for the next meeting.
That's, I was just gonna ask Dan if you would be up for putting a letter together and,
Yeah, I could just write up something very simple that just states our opposition.
right.
I can also reach out to Comerford's office and see if they have any advocacy recommendations for towns like ours that want to oppose it. And see if
That'd be good.
there's-
That'd be good. I'll wait to hear from you on that before I write my
Okay.
letter.
Oh, great. Cool.
And just in case people didn't see this, on the 20th, she did send out an update saying that Eversource had wanted an expedited process, and that has been rejected, and now they have to do an environmental impact report.
A full,
Right.
environmental
Full
impact.
report, yeah.
Yeah, they're very good.
So that's good. So it's gonna be a lot longer process.
Yeah,
Great, that would be good, thank you.
The one thing I was thinking we should make sure to put on the agenda for our next meeting is the library discussion. Did you see the email from Miriam
From Miriam, yes.
Yeah.
regarding just making it more clear about how projects and expenses are being covered? Who's responsible? Trustees, library, town.
Yeah, if we, this is gonna be the start of some shorter meetings. We can start diving into our old topics again.
Lori, knock on wood.
So I know, well, we made it through this one, so I wasn't saying anything until now about this meeting.
I have to admit, I thought of some of those things we could have added to this agenda, but I thought, we've been working hard for a long time. Maybe a shorter meeting isn't the worst thing.
Yeah.
not bad.
So anyway, you could send out the long list again for next meeting.
Okay,
And Glenn, will you do me a favor and look in that binder, the calendar binder of
yeah,
like what's coming, if there's things that we should have
Yeah.
on our radar.
I know one thing for November is the liquor licenses, or that might be December, but I think I initiate the process with them in November and then you guys do something in December, but that's coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think we might be able to adjourn then. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in
Good for
favor?
me.
All right, aye.
aye,
All right.
Adjourning at 8:15.
wow.
Can't remember the last time we've had a short meeting like this.